we are back here today with a speed paint, as if we were going to do something different. So today I wanted to look through some of my old art that I was proud of when I initially drew it, and redraw it. These are at least a few years old, and I would like to think I've improved a lot from when I initially drew them, and having already drawn them at the time of writing this script, I can say with confidence that I have. And that's not to say that I no longer enjoy the original drawings. I do think that they were quite good for where I was as an artist, and I did give myself some rules for this redraw. I cannot add or take away any of the characters, and the compositions of the piece have to be close to what they were in the original. After all, this is a redraw, so I had to stick with pretty much what I originally drew. Basically, I can't just draw something completely different. Anywho, that's enough about me rambling on about the prompt. Let's get into this. This first one is a fan art of She-Ra, the Princess of Power, the Netflix remake. Yes, this show has been on my mind because of my rewatch of it, and just so you know, I still do like the original piece, so obviously I had to redraw it. According to the date modified section on my computer, I did this on May 23rd of 2020. So, a few months before I actually moved out of my parents' house. COVID time. I was not a fan of you. Though you did give me some opportunities to soul search and self-reflect that I chose to completely ignore until a few years later. Thank you, Egg. I also apparently finished this at 4:41 a.m., according to the date modified info, so I'm glad to say that my sleep schedule has slightly improved over the past 5 years. Sort of. That was sarcasm. I try to go to bed at 1 a.m. now, but it doesn't always work out. Meaning my brain refuses to take my night meds and lay down. Sometimes it just grabs the wheel and goes for a joyride while I am internally screaming. Ah, the wonders of ADHD. Anyways, what was I talking about? I kinda don't remember. Perhaps this should probably be something about the drawing process, so let's do that. This was the longest piece in terms of draw time, not canvas size. I'm using the same canvas size for all of them. This took about 4 hours and 45 minutes. That's probably because I drew 8 characters, and the more characters you draw, the longer it's going to take to complete the drawing, even though they are in chibi form, or as some say, chibis. When I did the original, I think I tried to draw all of them in their designs in Season 5, except for She-Ra herself, but as I was looking at it, I didn't actually do that to the proper extent. By that I mean Entrapta was half of her new design and half of her original, so I had a bit of mix and match character designs. Hopefully that doesn't matter. By the time I realized it, I didn't want to take the time to correct it, so here we are, living life like this. In other words, I haven't drawn a chibis in my own style before, so I had to figure out how I wanted to do that. I made the head bigger and removed the nose and the neck, kind of like how normal chibis are drawn. She-Ra, of course, is in my normal style because she is the big centerpiece of the drawing. As for the characters, I'm not sure why I chose the ones that I did. It may just be because they were the main protagonists and antagonists for most of the series, but then Hordak should be there, and maybe some of the other princesses. Oh well, who knows what me from 5 years ago was thinking. I'm fairly capable of remembering what I did yesterday, so, you know, your guess is as good as mine. The background was supposed to be space-themed, or at least have a night sky vibe, so I changed it quite a bit in hopes of achieving that. Overall, I am very pleased with how this redraw went, especially the background, because that is what I think is the weakest part of the original. It just is my least favorite part of the original, I guess. Anyways, let's move on to the next drawing. Here we have a Yasha from Critical Role Campaign 2, The Mighty Nine. There's a part of me that wants to continue listening through Campaign 3 when I finish listening to my current audiobook instead of re-listening to something else. And as I wrote this and as I'm recording this, I did actually finish that audiobook and I started re-listening to Oathbringer from the Stormlight Archives because I've been re-listening to that series. We'll get to Campaign 3 eventually. It's just gonna take time, probably. I only stopped listening because I fell out of D&D around the time people were being super angry about 5.5e. Not because of whatever people were upset about. I kind of don't really remember. I think it was something about Wizards of the Coast doing something really, dumb and bad. Like, not with the rules, but like, with the company in general. There's loads of stuff on YouTube, you can probably find it there. Moral of the story is I kind of stopped interacting with tabletop RPG content. So for a while I just never got back into Critical Role. Unfortunately now I really want to play but don't have a GM. Life is pain. Why do I keep coming up with characters I know I'll never play? Starfinder and Pathfinder also both look like really fun systems and I want to try them. Too bad I can only just sit there and make characters. Anyways, this drawing was originally done on July 18th of 2020. So again, a piece that was originally done 5 years ago. This time I completed it at 3 in the afternoon, so I didn't actually ruin my sleep schedule to complete it. Which honestly, for me in 2020 is a really good thing. I was unemployed for a decent part of it, so I had no reason to maintain a sleep schedule outside of I am eepy, so I eep, or I am no longer eepy. That sounds like a threat. Be warned, I am no longer eepy. This would continue to happen if I didn't have a warehouse job with consistent hours. This is just my life, I guess. Anyways, I should move on to the actually talking about the drawing instead of my messed up sleep schedule. I can't really remember the scene that was originally described or the context behind it, so I can't really speak on that. Too much time has passed. What information I did have was what I drew, so I worked with that. Yasha was by a campfire playing a bone harp. This one is a fair bit different from the original for several reasons. First off, I changed the pose quite a lot. I googled images of people playing the harp and used that as reference as opposed to guessing what it would look like. I made sure to make the hands actually look like they were playing the harp instead of just like existing in front of them like in the original. Yasha occupied the same space, so that counts as keeping the same composition. For the next part, I had to make a choice. The fire that Yasha was sitting next to was mostly off the canvas in the original. That was something I didn't want in the redraw, so I had to decide to have the campfire either off the canvas or to be more in the background and create an actual background to the piece. As you can see, I went for the second option. I felt like it would look better to have her lit by an actual campfire as opposed to a mysterious light source while she's playing in a void. There was also lightning in the original that's kind of around Yasha, and I don't know why that's there. Like, I just can't remember. I mean, I know she does worship the Stormlord, who would be involved with lightning to some degree, but I can't remember if there's like an actual description of there being lightning present in the scene or not. I decided to remove it because I didn't understand the greater context I was going for back in 2020, and I did not want to go back and try and find the scene in the hundreds of hours of podcast. So here we have it, Yasha playing her bone harp for the party or something. The rest of the party isn't here. That's fine, they're just out of frame. Just to the left. You know, sitting there enjoying the music. Anyways, on to our last drawing of the day. We are back with Amphibia. God, why is my brain like this? I always am bouncing between hyperfixations. Whatever, it gets the job done, I guess. I can be self-indulgent if I want to. So I originally made this back on May 7th of 2021. 4 years ago instead of 5. Yay! So for those of you who are Amphibia fans, you may have noticed that that was before the episode was actually officially released by like 15 days. That is because the episode was delayed by Disney Corporate, because Disney Corporate sucks. There were leaks of the episode and a bunch of drama before the episode was finally allowed to be released with a viewer discretion warning. In the anticipation of the release, I made this little poster. I'm not sure of the entire context I had of the episode before making the poster. That's mainly because I don't remember if I accidentally saw spoilers for the episode or not. I mean, based on the context of Season 1 and 2, we knew not to trust Sasha and that King Andrias is also untrustworthy. Obviously, I figured Anne and Sasha would wind up fighting. I didn't know what my intent was with Marcy. I now know her actions and motivations, but then I think I just found it sus that she had actively convinced Anne to steal the music box back at the beginning of the series, and didn't think that that lined up with the character that had been portrayed for her so far, and, was suspicious of her motives. Or, maybe some of her motives were spoiled for me from essentially the internet. Who knows? 4 years ago was a long time for me to be remembering something like the intent of part of a drawing. As for the poster itself, I made only a few minor changes. First, I made it so Sasha was completely in frame and wearing her Toad Rebellion armor, as opposed to her Toad Tower armor. I'm not sure why I originally only had one of her arms in the original frame, as if who the mysterious human Anne was fighting was actually a mystery. She occupies about the same space and is in the foreground, so I think it stays within the rules that I set for myself. And if it doesn't, who cares? I made up the rules for myself, I can break them if I want to. Next up, we have the changes I made to King Andrias. I first drew him greedily staring at the music box as he gripped it in one hand. Instead, I decided to have him smugly looking down on Anne and Sasha's fight. Them working together would have been bad for him after all. Presidential alert, the girls are fighting. Then I kept Marcy more or less the same. That's because I didn't think that I needed to really change anything about what Marcy was doing. After all, she was just kind of being there, sad looking. And that kind of fits for the episode pretty well. So she can stay there in the corner looking sad. Think about what you've done, Marcy. Think about your choices and their consequences. Lastly, I decided to change the way Anne was holding her sword, as the original pose felt a little unnatural and I think it just looked kind of weird. And I think that this small change that I made to her actual stance made it look a lot better. At least in my opinion. I did do my best to keep the background the same because they weren't really supposed to be in a specific location and the castle was supposed to be kind of visible from it. So I didn't really feel the need to change that in this redraw. So they're in generic location number 4. So with that, I think we are done with this drawing. With this drawing done, that brings us to the end of the episode. I found it fun to look back on art that I have done in the past and see how I've grown as an artist by redrawing some old pieces. Not that that last part was actually necessary to see how far I've grown as an artist, it was mainly just to boost self-confidence. Anyways, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this episode, leave a like and subscribe for more. If you want to see more art from me, you can check out my Blue Sky where I occasionally skeet some art of my OCs and Blorbos. It's mainly murdered drones related, because that's where my brain lives for now. But sometimes it's also other things. Anyways, see you next time. Bye!